So we still have more information coming out about the JD and AH situation, and I want to talk about the court stenographer. Now, I mentioned this yesterday in a video that people are going after her because she dared to give JD a hug. He hugged me and thanked me. Wow, what a reason to get upset. But they're looking for any reason they can to try to convince the public that there should be an appeal for this case. I don't think that's going to happen. It's an expensive road to that. I'll actually be doing a video on that next because several experts are weighing in and talking about that. But I want to focus on this. So people are going after this woman, and I don't think that it's fair, and I don't think that it's right. She didn't do anything wrong. She has little impact on the case. All she did was record it. That's it. There's no reason to go after her. There's no way that she has any influence over the jury at all. But the one thing that she does have is information. And I found this quite interesting. So Johnny Depp versus AH court stenographer says a few jurors fell asleep throughout the trial. There were a few of them dozing off, court reporter Judy Bellinger said of the jury in the JD versus AH case. Now, this is interesting. And the unfortunate thing here is that she doesn't really give an answer as to who was putting who to sleep. I really wish we had those details, but we can make some guesses. And I think it's pretty obvious who was putting who to sleep. So I want to go through some of this here. Some of the jurors in the JD versus AH defamation case struggled to stay awake during the entire 6-week trial, according to the court stenographer. A 7-person jury consisting of 5 men and 2 women sided mostly with Depp in their verdict that was handed down on Wednesday afternoon in Virginia's Fairfax County Courthouse. They awarded him $15 million in damages, which was reduced to $10.35 million due to a state law. Finding that AH defamed her husband in her 2018 op-ed about some bad things, though she didn't name him in the article. Of course, they're going to keep saying that. Well, the jury found that she did name him. And the drafts prove she did name him. She admitted in court also that it was about him. So here's what she has to say. In a new clip from an interview with Law and Crime Network, Judy Ballinger, who served as the court reporter and was called a rock star by Judge Penny, said that a few of the jurors drifted asleep at points during the trial. The jurors' names will be sealed for at least 1 year, the judge previously ruled. There were a few jurors who were dozing off, she said, adding that the sleeping jurors were in both the front and back rows, and it was tough. There were a lot of video depositions, and they would just sit there, and all of a sudden, I'd see their head drop. Now, I remember saying on Twitter when the trial was going on, if you find these depositions boring, think of how the jury feels. And I remember saying that specifically during the AH depositions. This is why I think that it was the AH deposition that put them to sleep. And let me give you my reasoning. One, they started off late. They started off 3 weeks. Was it 2 or 3 weeks after JD? 2? I can't remember exactly how long, but he got to go first. And during that time, you've got to think about it. They were fresh. They'd only been there for a certain amount of time. This is all very new, probably very interesting. I mean, this is a very high-profile case. You've got Johnny Depp on the stand talking. A lot of his witnesses were very charismatic, like Isaac Baruch and a few other things. Now, he had video depositions too. And it's fair to say maybe they nodded off during one of those. But I think it was more likely that they nodded off during AH's because there was a lot of boring stuff when she was in there. And particularly none of her friends that testified were very charismatic or charming, except for one. I think that Josh guy, people perked up when he talked and laughed. But for the most part, I think her lawyers did a terrible job. The depositions used were awful. And I do believe that because they used a lot of time on a lot of useless shit. They ran out the time they had for closing, if you remember. They only had a couple of hours. So they wasted all kinds of time on nonsense. And it put the jury to sleep. I truly believe that it was Team AH that put that jury to sleep. It makes sense. The testimony was boring. The only time they were probably truly engaged is when she was on the stand. And if we believe those leaks that came out, that creeped a lot of them out. So, I don't know. I find this interesting. There's more stuff down here. She says the best juror who paid the most attention ended up being one of the alternates picked at random and ultimately not involved in the final verdict. Unfortunately, the one alternate that was on there, she was probably the one that listened the most. I watched her facial expressions. She was very deeply into every word that was being said. I thought she would have made a great juror, and she did not get to see it to the end. She was paying close attention. So, I mean, it's really interesting stuff. And I do believe it was Team AH. They wasted so much time. They threw everything in the trial. And a lot of it was just boring. They had a ton of video depositions. And to be fair, so did JD. However, like I said, they went first. And I really do believe that the jury was probably more engaged and more perked up at the beginning than they were after sitting through multiple weeks of AH's video depositions. It just kind of makes sense. I mean, it was a long trial, and you have to think, after all that time, they were probably tired and ready to go home. Because 6 weeks is a long time to be invested in a case that runs 8 to 9 hours every day. Because don't forget, after we came back from that break, the judge made the time start earlier, so we were up an hour earlier. And remember, they're sitting in that jury box right there. They're not getting on their phones and surfing social media while everyone's talking like we can when something boring pops up. They have nothing but notes. They don't have any electronic devices, and that's why I believe, yeah, it probably was them that put them to sleep. I mean, you take it with a grain of salt, but if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, make sure to follow me over on Twitch. I do watch parties, play video games over there. They're always fun. Follow me over there and come hang out. Also, make sure you subscribe to YellowFlash, my other channel. There's a link to that in the description as well. I do a lot of live streams over there that I don't do on this channel. Usually smaller and a little bit more personal. So make sure you follow me over there and sign up.